50 years ago, Oak Park was a different place. Though the passage of the 1964 Civil Rights Act outlawed discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin, putting it to practice was another story. The unspoken and oftentimes spoken rule was not to sell or rent to persons of color. In the instances when the barrier was crossed and black families moved into white neighborhoods, white flight along with declining property values ensued. Some Oak Park residents were fearful such a change would happen here, and some were not. In 1964, Oak Park started an uncharted journey to eliminate discriminatory barriers to integrate Oak Park.
Well, it was, one of these huge campaigns. It was sort of like anything else that you want to have happen in society where you're working for social change. We had very active committees. We were working to attract more black residents to the community. So we did a lot of outreach, open houses, potluck suppers,
block parties, met with realtors about showing homes in the community to people of different colors, because realtors had a pattern in other communities of showing homes to blacks in one section of town and whites in another section.
But basically, until the law passed, we had nothing we could really do other than mediation or just trying to prevail on people's goodwill.
Village partners, including the school district, the religious community, and countless engaged residents all stepped up to further solidify Oak Park's commitment to being an open community. This movement culminated in the demand for a Fair Housing Ordinance, which called for an end to discriminatory real estate practices.
People felt that fair housing meant if there was a black person that wanted to buy your house, regardless of what they wanted to pay for it, you had to sell it to them. There were some people who thought the law only applied to blacks, and if whites could go ahead and be discriminated against, and that was okay. So it was a matter of informing people on what the law was about.
Success of a new Oak Park meant attracting new residents, black and white, who were willing to stake their futures on a village willing to gamble, breaking the pattern of American housing segregation. This same spirit would also need to be channeled into an ongoing effort that included renewed investments in infrastructure, cooperation with sometimes skeptical realtors, and legal action against discriminatory banking practices. After considerable deliberation and debate, it was time for the ordinance to be put to a vote. On the eve of May 6th, the village board, with a vote of 5 in favor, 2 opposed, passed the Fair Housing Ordinance, making it illegal to use race as a basis to discriminate against anyone seeking to rent or buy real estate.
It immediately changed things. For families looking, for our community, for everybody involved, we now had a law in place, and we were going to see that that law was enforced.
The village's Community Relations Department was established in 1971 to monitor and enforce the ordinance, as well as facilitate cultural understanding and acceptance.
One of the other things was that it was important to change a pattern that had happened in other communities in which when black people moved in, services were let down. And so one of the messages we wanted to get across is that in places where black people were living, we're going to get the same services, if not better services, than other parts of the community.
In 1972, the Housing Center was created to foster pro-integrative moves into the community.
When the Housing Center first started, Oak Park had a very small black population. Right from the very beginning of the Housing Center was making sure everything was open to people and trying to prevent one section of the community from becoming the black section, the rest of it being considered the white section.
The package of policy changes of this era provided real tools for building a fair and inclusive place to live. 1968 was a turning point, as Oak Park began to not only attract more black residents, but also see a growing commitment from realtors and the community at large to the core principles of the Fair Housing Ordinance. But it took courageous people and grassroots support to create an ongoing spirit of engagement. 50 years on, so much has changed, but still so much remains to be accomplished. Keeping our door open is essential to continue Oak Park's mission to becoming a fully integrated community.